Welcome to A Kingly Person, Justice and the Just, from the teachings of Musonius Rufus, Vegetarian, Part 2 of 2 on Words of Wisdom. Gaius Musonius Rufus, Vegetarian, was one of the great Stoic philosophers of the Roman Empire. He lived in the 1st century CE and was born in Volsinii, an ancient city of Etruria that is now part of present-day Italy. His philosophy focused on the study and practice of virtue. He believed that everyone is capable of being virtuous. However, people who had not learned the skills of ethical living could not be expected to live without error. Thus, he lived and promoted a simple and frugal lifestyle, which included the learning of self-control, modesty, courage, and benevolence. He was a vegetarian and taught that being mindful of one's diet was a vital virtue. His students included Roman noblemen, senators, and future philosophers. In the years following, his wisdom continued to have an impact on later Stoic philosophy as well as early Christian moral thought. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, was his most notable student, whose principles were deeply influenced by his mentor. Although the works of Gaius Musonius Rufus are mentioned in the writings of Epictetus, most have been lost through time. However, his philosophical teachings in the form of aphoristic sayings and discourses were preserved by his students. This was later translated and included in Cora E. Lutz's book Musonius Rufus, the Roman Socrates. Let's continue with the discourse that kings must also study philosophy, where the philosopher expounds on the benefits to the subjects when kings and people of authority value justice and righteousness. That kings also should study philosophy. In general, it is of the greatest importance for the good king to be faultless and perfect in word and action, if indeed he is to be a living law, as he seemed to the ancients, effecting good government and harmony, suppressing lawlessness and dissension, a true imitator of Zeus and like him father of his people. But how could anyone be such a king if he were not endowed with a superior nature, given the best possible education, and possessed of all the virtues which befit a man? If, then, there is any other knowledge that guides man's nature to virtue and teaches him to practice and associate with the good, it should be placed beside philosophy and compared with it to see whether it or philosophy is better and more capable of producing a good king. Then the man who wished to become a good king would be wise to use the better one. If, however, no other art professes the teaching and transmission of virtue, though there are some which are concerned solely with man's body and what is useful for it, while others that touch the mind aim at everything else but making it self-controlled, yet philosophy alone makes this its aim and occupies itself with this, how a man may avoid evil and acquire virtue. If this, I say, is so, what else would be more serviceable to a king who wished to be good than the study of philosophy? How better or how otherwise could a man be a good ruler or live a good life than by studying philosophy? For my part, I believe that the good king is straightway and he a philosopher, and the philosopher a kingly person. Of these two probes, let us examine the former. Is it possible for anyone to be a good king unless he is a good? No, it is not possible. But given a good man, would he not be entitled to be called a philosopher? Most certainly, since philosophy is the pursuit of the ideal good. Therefore, a good king is found to be forthwith and of necessity a philosopher also. Now again, that the philosopher is entirely kingly, you may understand from this. The attribute of a kingly person is obviously the ability to rule peoples and cities well and to be worthy to govern men. Well then, who would be a more capable head of a city or more worthy to govern men than the philosopher? For it behooves him, if he is truly a philosopher, to be intelligent, disciplined, noble-minded, a good judge of what is just and of what is seemly, efficient in putting his plans into effect, and patient under hardship. In addition to this, he should be courageous, fearless, resolute in the face of things apparently disastrous, and besides, beneficent, helpful, and humane. Could anyone be found more fit or better able to govern than such a man? No one. Even if he does not have many subjects obedient to him, he is not for that reason less kingly. For it is enough to rule one's friends or one's wife and children, or for that matter only oneself. For indeed, a physician who attends few patients is no less a physician than the one who attends many, if to be sure he has skill and experience in healing. In the same way, the musician who teaches only a few pupils is no less a musician than the one who teaches many, provided he knows the art of music. Likewise, the horseman who trains only 1 or 2 horses is just as much a horseman as the one who trains many, if he is skilled in horsemanship. And so the title of kingly person belongs to the one who has only 1 or 2 subjects, just as well as to the one who has many. Only let him have the skill and ability to rule, so that he may deserve the name of a king. For this reason, it seems to me that Socrates too called philosophy the statesmanlike and royal discipline, because one who masters it immediately becomes a statesman. When Musonius said these things, the king was glad at his words and told him that he was grateful for what he said, and added, "In return for this, ask of me whatever you wish, for I shall refuse you nothing." Then Musonius said, "The only favor I ask of you is to remain faithful to this teaching, since you find it commendable, for in this way and no other will you best please me and benefit yourself." Kind-hearted viewers, it was a delight that you could join us today for Words of Wisdom.